Well, it is the top of the hour, so why don't we go ahead and get our webinar started. My name is Judy Feldhausen, and I am joined today with one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, Bob Wischmeier.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing a leadership development series here.
Yeah, you know, you guys, one thing with relationship to this leadership development series, the book that we have focused on has 21 chapters to it. It's a fairly long book, and we thought maybe we'd try to do a chapter a month. It'll take us a couple of years to get through this, but it should be a lot of fun. And I take note that when you get involved in network marketing, you are creating a business. It's a home-based business. When you sign up with Synergy, you have to give them either your tax ID number or your social security number, because you've created a home-based business. And if you're going to be in business, that is going to require a measure of leadership from you, and why not learn from the best? And so we want to talk about that this morning, Judy. So
absolutely. And this first chapter, the book is called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. And at the end of the program, there's a link that if you don't have it, you can purchase it. So it's an amazing book. We've been doing this, gosh, Bob, how long have we been doing this in the 21-day challenge call?
Well, 14 weeks, I think, already.
Yeah, 14 weeks. And it's been very interesting, not only just an interesting read, but interesting book for discussion. We've had some amazing discussions on each of these chapters. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, that we have had, and it's been a lot of fun. You know, Judy mentioned she'll have a link for you if you want to purchase this book. I bought mine used from Amazon, and kind of a funny thing, on the inside cover, there's a little sticker, and it says, "This book belongs to the Holy Name of Mary Parish Office Staff Library." So I wrote my name up above it because I'm not a part of the Holy Name of Mary Parish Office Staff, just so you know. This is as good as new ones.
In case I have to borrow it, Bob, that's nice that you wrote your name in it.
Yeah, I've got my name in there. Well, great. So do you want me to start with this forward, Judy, from...
Yes, absolutely. And so we're just going to go through the first law this week called Law of the Lid. And it was quite an eye-opening thing. As my husband is now opening the lid off of our hot tub, it's very apropos here.
There you go. As we do this, too, as we talk about this Law of the Lid, I want you to think about Dan Higginson. I want you to think about him, the individual, the man. You know, you get on a call with him, you listen to him. Think about the Law of the Lid. Think about Dan Higginson. But the foreword to the book, in the newer book, actually this book was written a long time ago, and so the one that I have is a revised and updated 10th anniversary edition. And the foreword in my book was written by Stephen Covey. Interesting to note that Stephen Covey is a friend, or was a friend. Stephen Covey died a couple of years ago from a bike wreck. He was in a bicycle wreck in his 70s. But he and Dane were good friends. They were neighbors for a period of time. Their kids went to school together, and they were good friends. But here's what Stephen Covey had to say, just a couple of thoughts. He says, this writing serves as a sort of manifesto for John Maxwell's teachings in his life. He said, I could see immediately how practical and applicable the laws were, and they still are. And as I read that note in the foreword, and as I've gone through the book, I agree that these laws, these ideas, these concepts really are practical and easy to apply. He says, rather than an esoteric examination of leadership, this book is more like a foundational instruction manual. And you'll see that as we go through this. He says, communicators make the complex simple. And I love that. Communicators make the complex simple. Leadership is not static. It's constantly moving. And we change. We make adjustments in our leadership ability because we learn things as we go along, right? That's just how life is. You look back at an experience and you think to yourself, well, you know, if I had to do that over, I think I maybe would have done, you know, and then fill in the blank. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share and about with regard to the forward. Judy, back to you.
Yes, and one of the things that John Maxwell talked about as advice for reading the chapters, there's actually 4 ideas that he mentioned that really is great counsel for leadership with or without the book. And the first law, the first idea that he has is that these laws really can be learned. It's something that just about anybody can learn. Some of them are easier to understand. Some of them are pretty deep, but really all of them, once you study them, they're really, really simple. And also, second, really these laws stand alone. You don't have to know all the laws to be a good leader. You don't have to work at all of them or know all of them at the same time. And you can learn them independently from another. You don't even have to learn them in order. So that he didn't have an order when he wrote this. It just happened as the ones he thought about came to mind. And all of these laws actually carry consequences. And when you apply the laws, people just tend to naturally follow you. And if you violate them or even ignore them, you really won't be able to lead other people. It's amazing, and I'm truly starting to understand that deep within me as I'm learning these laws and really digging into them. And lastly, the laws really are a foundation for leadership, and you really have to practice them in order for them to work, just like anything else. You know, if you read a book and you understand it and then close it and put it away and never think about it again, nothing's going to happen. But that's why I'm liking the way we're going through this book a week at a time, because not only do we read it, but then we talk about it and we get other people's opinions and personal experiences, so that we're really getting the book inside of our bodies and living it. And because of that, I think about these laws throughout the week and how I'm applying them. So that's an amazing thing.
Oh, it's wonderful. You know, you guys, if you look on the Global Health Makeover website.
Oh, you're getting some feedback, Bob.
Yeah, I'm getting a little feedback. Yeah, there we go. You notice how when you're talking, it's fine, but when I start to talk, we get feedback. You know, it's a story of my life, I'm telling you. But what I was going to say is that we have this quote that it's the difference in life really as you get a little bit older, it's going to be the books you read and the people that you meet. That's a true thing. And Jeff Olson in his Slight Edge book tells us that we should be reading at least 10 pages of a good book every day. I believe that. Les Brown says you should read 30 pages of a good book every day. The point is that we need to be filling our minds with good things. We need to continue to learn and to grow. There needs to be this measure of continuing education in our lives. I absolutely buy into that. I bought a copy of Og Mandino's book, The Greatest Salesman in the World, for a young man that I'd been working with here at our high school. He was a valedictorian from our school. And I did that for a purpose, because that particular book, Greatest Salesman in the World, is a profound read. So that's what we do. We continue to try to learn and to grow. So what I wanted to do now, you guys, Judy, were you done with that?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah. In this particular writing, John Maxwell uses stories, and I really appreciate that. Stories sell. They really do. I love listening to stories and reading things. I've already written several quotes out of this book into my personal journal. He tells a wonderful story. So I wanted to share with you a very, very interesting story out of this first chapter. In 1937, two brothers, the McDonald brothers, opened a small drive in Pasadena, California. You listen to Dan Higginson talk about timing and trends. Think about this, okay? It was a huge hit. Now, in 1968, I was a sophomore in high school, and I got a job at a McDonald's in Ventura, California. Right? Hamburgers at that point had gone up in price from 15 cents to 19 cents. Some places you could get 5 for $1. But at McDonald's, back in those days, you had to learn how to add quickly, because you just had a list with the individual items on it, and they wanted 2 of this and 2 of this and 1 of these, and you just had to add it up in your head. You said but it was fast. So in 1937, they opened up that little drive-in there in Pasadena, and they did really well. It was a big hit. In 1940, they could see that things were changing a little bit, and they moved over to San Bernardino, which was just booming at the time. San Bernardino is about 50 miles or so east of LA. So they had a little bit bigger facility there. They expanded their menu a little bit. Again, a huge hit. Moving forward in 1948, think about how long ago that was. Again, times were changing, and they modified their business again. And when they modified this time, they streamlined everything. When they first opened, I mean, they had, you know, car hops came out to your car, and they had china, plates, and glassware, and silverware, and the whole 9 yards. Well, they changed that. They streamlined it, and they put together, they lowered their costs considerably, but also they lowered the prices to the customers, which was unheard of at that time. And they put together what they called speedy service system. The kitchen became like an assembly line, and their goal was to be able to serve a customer in 30 seconds or less, and they did it. It was just an enormous success. So in reality, they kind of hit the American dream jackpot. They were making a ton of money back in those days, these 2 brothers. But the problem that they had, if you will, was that they never went any further, simply because of the weakness, the leadership, weakness in their leadership. They put a lid on their ability to succeed. Their genius, the McDonald's brothers' genius, was in customer service and kitchen organization. It wasn't in leadership, and it wasn't in vision. As long as they were hands-on, and they were phenomenal at what they did. But that's kind of where it ended. They tried to do a little bit of franchising. They couldn't figure it out. It was just kind of a flop. But then along comes this guy named Ray Kroc. And Ray Kroc was selling them milkshake machines. That's what Ray Kroc was. He was in his 50s when he came along. But he teamed up with him. Somehow they created a friendship. They teamed up with him. The difference is that, yeah, Ray Kroc could see the brilliance of what they were doing with their customer service and this remarkable kitchen assembly line concept. He could see that, but he could see it in a way, way bigger picture. So he went out, you know, he got into business with him, and he started recruiting some really sharp people. You know, he hired a number of people to help him to expand the business. He had to sacrifice a whole bunch. He borrowed money from the bank. He borrowed money from his life insurance. He changed things even at home. He downsized at home, made a bunch of changes in his life to try to get this thing going. For the first 8 years, he didn't even take any salary from the business. Now, I don't know how he did it. Maybe he just ate all of his everything at McDonald's. I don't know. But, I mean, he really worked hard at this. But he had that vision. And in 1961, Ray Kroc bought the business for $2.7 million. $2.7 million in 1961 was a lot of money. His leadership led, his vision, his ability to move away from that little place there in San Bernardino was huge. Between 1955 and 59, I was born in 52, but in that 4-year period of time, he opened up 100 McDonald's restaurants. In the next 4 years, he had 400 McDonald's restaurants. And today, there are more than 31,000 McDonald's restaurants in 119 countries. 31,000. Started with one little tiny place in Pasadena with the McDonald brothers. Now, the difference between those men, McDonald brothers had they were just brilliant when it came to customer service and an efficient kitchen. But that's where the lid was on. That's as far as they could go. But they partnered with someone who took them to the moon and beyond. Now, we're not eating at McDonald's, right? I don't eat at McDonald's, and you don't eat at McDonald's, but I have. I've eaten in McDonald's all over the world. I bought a Big Mac in Vilnius, Lithuania one time. I'm not, we know McDonald's. So anyway, but you get the drift. So anyway, with that story, Judy, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, and that's so true, Bob, that you really have to have more than just a good success strategy. And really, the John Maxwell really talks about it, that you really have to have two concepts. And he created a graph that he's got in the book. And, I'm not really a numbers person or a graph person, but we thought it was really important to have this in here so that you can visualize that it does take two talents, as you will. One is that ability that the McDonald brothers had. They had tremendous ability, but they did not have that. They didn't have the other part, the dedication to partnership and all the other things that it took. And you really have to have both. If you only have one, you don't become a great leader. You are stagnant. It's like hiding your light under a barrel. That's what it reminds me of. You've got the light and it's absolutely phenomenal, but if it's covered up, if nobody can see it, you might as well not have the light on. Yes.
Just to interject a thought, in Jim Collins wrote a book called Good to Great. It's a very good read. I don't know how many of you have read it before, but in his book, Good to Great, Jim Collins talks about getting the right people on the bus, but then getting them in the right seats on the bus. And, it's just a bit of a metaphor, but when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. When Ray Kroc came on the scene with the McDonald brothers, what he did was he hired some really sharp people to help him, people that did have leadership ability. They already had, the McDonald brothers already had that customer service and the kitchen streamlined. They had that. They were geniuses at that. They just didn't know where to go afterwards. So he brought people in to help him. Okay, and that's kind of like in network marketing. We look at people. Some people we want to bring on just as customers because they're going to be good customers. They want to spend some money and get a product, and they're good with that. That's awesome. Cash flow, there it is. But what we're looking for long-term in our synergy business, and this is key, and this is the thing that every one of us on this call struggles with, is finding people who want to create a home-based business, who want to become a distributor. That creates residual income. Those are the people we want to bring into our business and then work with them. That's where the leadership comes in, is helping those people. We have all of these great resources at our fingertips. We need to use those resources to help our new distributors who want to build a business to build their business. That's where the magic comes in.
That is so true. And unless we expand with both customers and distributors, that we can't use the leadership ability that we have been studying and working with. We do have to work and dedicate ourselves each and every day to expand both our customers and our distributors to do everything we can, including learning and networking and getting into new products, which can be difficult for many of us, especially right now with Synergy. Adding a new focus into to our product line, sometimes we there's a stumbling block, but it's that dedication that if we continue working hard and expanding and really focusing on what we need to focus on, that our entire ability and our team is going to increase just absolutely tremendously.
It will, and I think it's really important for all of us to kind of wrap our head around, you know, what we're doing with our business right now today, because we've brought in these new products. We've got the Purify, the whole microbiome concept, and Fortify and Protect, all of that. But does that resonate with you? You know, it's like in my world, Pro-Arginine Plus, well, the V3 products are huge to me. I have seen miracles take place in my own family because of them. My emphasis in my business is not microbiome. I love this stuff. Don't get me wrong, but my emphasis truly has been on, and continues to be, with regard to cardiovascular health and strength and athletic performance. Those things that resonates with me. That works for me. So in my Synergy world, although I love the microbiome stuff and I market it, but for me, for Bob Wischmeier, it's Pro-Arginine. I move forward with my Pro-Arginine to keep my business moving forward. So if you're finding that you're maybe getting a little stagnant in your sales or whatever, you might want to stop and think, okay, well, where's my emphasis? I mean, I know Dan talks about it all the time, how you need to decide what business model do I want here. For me, it's nitric oxide therapy. Just saying.
Absolutely, and you know, this law of the lid, that dedication piece along with that leadership piece is not only good for our business, but it applies to our life also. I think so often about how I raised my children and how I see children being raised by my neighbors, and I see a whole different leadership style. And what I see is there's a lot of leadership ability, but there's not a whole lot of dedication, at least in my neighborhood. You know, kids are running around the streets late at night. And I live in a really, you know, it's a blue-collar neighborhood, hard-working people, but just the level of dedication is different. So it takes both ability and dedication in order to be a good leader in all areas, not just in our life, but with our families and our community also.
You know, a lot of us, every time I start to talk, we get that funny sound there. I apologize. A lot of us on this call are familiar with Jerry Bingham in Arizona. You know her, don't you, Judy?
Yes, of course.
Little Jerry Bingham, little tiny gal. And as a grandmother, she joined Synergy Worldwide. And I remember, you know, quiet, you know, plays the piano and does piano lessons and whatnot. And I remember she got up at a Synergy meeting one time talking about her Synergy business. And she talked about how when she first got started, she really didn't know what she was doing. Her husband thought she'd lost, you know, kind of lost her mind or whatever. And she smiled and she said, and now he works for me. I laughed so hard when she said that, because it was, here's this little demure lady, grandmother, teaching piano lessons in Arizona, who caught a vision of something, and her leadership ability just went off the charts. Prior to joining Synergy, prior to becoming a part of a network marketing company, she had no idea, no clue that inside of her was this great leader. But she's created and built a great business.
And if you look at this graph, you know, Jerry had that success dedication off the charts here, but she did not have the leadership ability. And she was able to develop that through the help of, you know, her upline, her mentors, Synergy Worldwide, and I'm sure a host of people. Right. And so that then, you know, then the whole package is there. And that's, I think, the importance of this chapter, is to get that it's not just being a leader, so to speak, that's important, but it is working at it and working with a team, not being by yourself, but, you know, including community in all of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know that this quote was in the book, and I really appreciated what John Maxwell said. He who thinks he leads but has no followers, oh, there's a typo, is only taking a walk. And I found this picture of this lonely path, and it is so true. In order to be a leader, we have to have a team.
Exactly. The path is pretty, but it's lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, we're loving this book. I've really appreciated it on many occasions over these last, well, I guess it's been 14 weeks or so that we've been reading this book. I've used these various principles in a number of ways, and it's key for me. This book is. I really like it. I know Janice Smith and I were talking about it, and she agrees. Tammy agrees. Jean agrees. It's just been a great read, and I think wasn't it David Munoz who recommended this book for us? It seems like, or no, maybe it was you, Judy.
I don't know. It
doesn't matter. But David has read this book as well. So we're going to continue to study through this and share some of these ideas with you.
Yes, and the next chapter is the Law of Influence, and we'll be doing that in about a month. And it's, again, an absolutely wonderful, wonderful law of leadership. So are there any questions before we close our webinar today? Any comments?
Yeah, Bob and Judy, this is Homer. I really appreciate this. This is awesome. This is, you think you know things, but you really don't. And once you figure out the laws, it kind of makes you, once you follow them, it makes your life a little bit easier. So I appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much that we know, but we don't use every day. And, that's why I like discussing things like this, because it brings that back up and freshens our minds and has us look at it a little bit differently. I wanted to give you the website there, where if you haven't read this book and you want to get the book, this is my Jean's and my website. There's a direct link to Amazon. We are Amazon affiliates, so it'll bring you right to that book or any place else on Amazon you'd like to see. But this is what the book looks like, and it's just a great read.
It is. We encourage anything you can do in your synergy businesses to grow. And becoming a good leader is important. It's an important part of having a group together. I've watched, even through the years as Dan Hammer, he created an organization. I remember clear back like 7 or 8 years ago when Dan first was involved with Synergy, and now you look at the remarkable group that he's created as a leader in the organization, and his group grows. It's like you look at, Steve and Roxanne Seeley, they have a group. Well, Dan Hammer has a group. Mark Comer has a group. Dan Hammer has a group. Dane has a group. Dan Hammer has a group. You get the drift. Any one of us, and I think that's the thing that we all hope for as synergy distributors, is that we can create an organization and then one of our people will become another Dan Hammer or another Mark Comer or something like that. It's what we hope for, and so we need to learn this leadership ability. It's a concept too, you guys, I wanted to share with regard to sponsoring people. I've heard synergy distributors before who have said that, well, I'm really not interested in the on how the comp plan works. I'm really not interested in this or that with regard to corporate. And my thought has always been, look, if we're going to be responsible enough to literally sponsor someone into Synergy worldwide, as a sponsor, I have a responsibility to help them, to teach them, to train them, to give them every advantage, because they then will have the ability to move forward with their Synergy business. And so part of that, being a good sponsor, is teaching and training the people in our downline. So bring your people to the calls. Bring your people to these webinars. Bring them to the Tuesday night live webinars that Dan is doing. They're awesome. Bring them to that Monday morning phone call with us. Dan Higginson was on the call with us last week. Erin McCain is going to be on with us coming up. Sarah Lutz, one of Gene's friends, is on the hook to be on with us in 1st of September. Rudy Pedrosa, I spent an hour and a half on the phone with Rudy Pedrosa day before yesterday. Rudy's going to be on the call with us. Wonderful, great folks. These are the simple resources that we have to keep us going, keep us motivated, moving forward. So bring your people, even if they're, I don't want to say just customers, but customers become distributors. So bring them along as well. And let's share all of this information with all of our people.
Yes, and one of the things too when you look
baby.
I don't hear a baby. You know, when we look at people like Rudy and Dane and Dan, you know, Roxanne and Steve, you look at them as amazing leaders, and you know, we need to step back for a moment to realize that at one point they were not leaders. You know, they weren't born as leaders. Some people are natural leaders, but they still have to develop that dedication part, right? So it gives us the freedom and the ability to know that we too can become powerful leaders, that we just need to apply these laws and, you know, to know that where we are today, the lid we have on today is not going to be there forever, that we can take that lid off and we can become better leaders, better recruiters, have better knowledge, and have followers in our businesses and our lives that we don't have today. But it will come if we work at it. And you just have to, you know, work on these laws, basically. So do you have anything else, Bob?
There you go. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay. Any other questions before we...
That's it for me, Judy. Any other questions?
Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate all of you and for all your questions and comments and for sticking with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Bob.
Welcome. Bye-bye.
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 Thanks, guys.